98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Sage Babalola. It is the 6th day in the month of August. Conversations continue across the country. There are many questions about the events playing out in Africa and beyond, especially with the rise of protest and civil unrest across Africa, Asia and Europe. Well, if what you're looking for is updated information regarding all of the events playing out, you're definitely at the right place, because here on Mainland 98.3 FM, it is our priority, it is our objective to keep you up to speed with happenings within the country and beyond. Of course, this is the Morning Express, like I said earlier, from 5 a.m. all the way to 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. I beg your pardon. We have conversations regarding information provision, in-depth analysis, giving you a platform to also air your opinions about the stories that are being addressed on radio. Well, this segment of the Morning Express is called Trends in the Papers. Basically, we're referencing the papers, our dailies, looking at the front pages, or at least the stories that have been reported on the front pages of our dailies. We read these stories to you, provide you with analysis, and then allow you to form your own opinions, and then we take the opinions that you have formed. My name is Sage Babalola. For the information or for the in-depth analysis and also for explanations and a breakdown of these stories, Fuad Said will be joining us virtually as we analyze the papers this morning. It's Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. We're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can join our streaming platform and also take advantage of the live chat option to drop your submissions in real time as we get across all of the stories that we have on the front pages of our dailies. We have The Guardian, we have Vanguard, and we also have Punch newspaper for analysis this morning. We're going to kick off conversations for today using The Guardian newspaper. We're going to look at the top stories and, of course, find our way across all of the many important stories that have made it to the front page of our dailies. I think we have Fuad now. Good morning, Fuad. Nice to have you.
Yeah, good morning, Sage. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. I get actually the same question. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm very good.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us once again. We have The Guardian, like I said, we have Punch and we have Vanguard, and we decided to kick off conversations with The Guardian newspaper. We have the top story as reported on the front page of The Guardian. Federal government prioritizes National Assembly, State House spendings amid MDA's funding crisis. That is the headline for that particular story. And we have a few riders. Some of the riders include 3 top spending items overrun estimate receive 140.6 billion naira in 6 months. 51% of 19.4 billion in first half budgetary allocations held back. Agricultural research, foreign mission gets zero funding. Stakeholders fear regulatory crisis in oil sector, disregard for PIA. Concerns over idle oil blocks, fate of NNPCL. Nigeria loses $7.2 billion to underproduction in 6 months. So those are the riders. And to the body of the story in itself, the widening gap between expenditure and revenue may have reached a crisis level in the past few months, leaving the federal government with a spending shortfall of over 50% in the first half of the year, as document obtained by The Guardian has shown. Now, against the backdrop of poor funding, the government continues to prioritize political office operations at the cost of starving critical agencies and infrastructure-heavy ministries, with the National Assembly, State House and Presidential Air Fleet receiving 140.56 billion naira from January to June. While the receipts are huge, the 3 items could stoke distortions even in resource allocation to other areas in the second half, as they have overdrawn their earmarks in just the first half. Fuad, this Guardian report is drawing our attention to the misplaced priorities within government. We're seeing here that critical sectors, ministries, departments and agencies are very heavily underfunded. And we have a government that is prioritizing spendings within the National Assembly, within the State House, and acquiring resources that are not necessarily needs, but rather are wants. So let's scrutinize the sense of priority and also the scale of preference of those we have at the helm of affairs?
Well, I was hoping we're not going to stand the review of the papers today with stories like this. But again, the Guardian has decided to bring this conversation up as a major headline in the paper today. So really, we have no choice than to look at it. But again, the story just captures it all. There's really nothing much to add. These are the things we've always said, and those are the issues really. When some of us question, some of the narratives of the government, some of the positions of the government on the fact that look, there's no money. This is the time for Nigerians to tighten their belt. This is a period of pain, temporary pain. The future is bright. And so people continue to question the spending patterns of government. What are the things they place premium on? What are their priorities again? We talk about dwindling revenue, but we look at the expenditure pattern of government, and there are so many questions around it. What are their priorities really? Like you rightly pointed out, a lot of the MBAs are not being funded. Some of them are even getting the zero allocation. In the first half of the year. And what does that tell you? You're going to have a lot of MDAs, apart from them probably just maybe paying salaries. A lot of their project proposals will just remain near policy papers, at the policy paper level. No implementation. That's what it means. And that's why you see that a lot of MDAs, agencies, parastatals exist more like a ghost organization, ghost institution. Nothing contributed, nothing added. Just have people collecting salaries. They wake up in the morning, tell their family members they are going to work, they come back, doing nothing practically because again, without funds, what really can these MDAs, agencies, and parastatals do? And that's why there are people who think that look, if we can't fund this number of MDAs and we begin to look at the ᴘᴜ reports, streamline them, bring some of them together, so that again we can have slimmer expenditure to put on some of these things. But at the end of the day, there are serious questions as to the priorities of this government when it comes to their spending pattern. Again, those questions are coming because the government is telling us there's no money. But there's no money. Look at how much we are budgeting for less important things. You understand what we're saying here? See? So that's what the report is putting across this morning. This Guardian report is telling us, and it's difficult really to fault that position. It's difficult to begin to question, why people think this government has been reckless with the spending and have not even brought anything new as to their spending pattern. That's why we are also saying that look, the things we've done in the past that led us into this problem, you are still doing it. So what has changed? Nothing has changed really. The same reckless spendings we saw in the past that brought us to this terrible situation is still what the government is doing. Nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is that look, the reality of Nigerians have changed. They are now more impoverished. Whereas amidst that level of poverty amongst ordinary Nigerians, the government spending pattern does not show that they are ready to tighten their belts or even there is any form of sacrifice. It's really unfortunate, like I said, it's just unfortunate that these are the things we keep talking about on a daily basis.
Unfortunate indeed. This is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper if you like more information about that particular report. Well, moving forward, still on the front page of the Guardian, we have this story here. Rather paradoxical situation, if you allow me to say. The United States may become largest crude supplier to Nigerian refineries years after it stopped buying. That's the headline. There are a few riders as well. CSOs to monitor NNPC's compliance on crude sale as Dangote refinery gets 30% supply from the United States. Oil marketers call for probe of NNPC, DAPMA over high ex-depot price. Now, a new report by S&P Global has revealed that the United States is a major supplier of crude oil to Nigeria's Dangote refinery, accounting for 30% of the total 47 cargoes delivered to the facility thus far. Indeed, there are indications that the United States may become the biggest supplier of crude to local refineries, leveraging its production capacity and pricing. This is coming years after Nigeria ceased to be the major supplier of crude to the United States. And according to the report, the plant has scaled, I'm talking Dangote Refinery now, has scaled to 400,000 barrels per day and has delivered diesel, jet fuel, naphtha and fuel oil to both domestic and export market, while petrol, Nigeria's primary fuel type, is expected to be produced from mid-August. When I started, I said this is a paradoxical situation. The irony, Fuad, the United States and other countries used to depend very largely on Nigeria's crude. I mean, our crude was called sweet crude. We had crude that everybody wanted, right? And on the unfortunate turn of events, we're now in a situation where we're depending on the United States, our own former dependent, for crude supply to the only local, or should I say functional local refinery that we currently have in the country, and they're responsible for almost 37 to 40% of the supply that Dangote Refinery is getting at this time. And I want us to take this story with the other related stories that we have. I'm pretty certain that you've seen the report by the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, who said that those who are the beneficiaries of fuel importation will do everything that they can to stifle the operations of Dangote Refinery, because it would definitely become a clog in the wheel of their operation if Dangote Refinery becomes functional and we have enough crude for domestic use and also for exportation. For now we have this information, we've been able to highlight the problem. Why is it somewhat impossible for us to nab those who are responsible for these distortions within the oil sector?
I don't know. I really don't know, Sage. But again, it's looking like these guys who in the oil sector who are holding us down, holding the entire nation down, are more powerful than the willingness of the government to do the right thing. They look untouchable. Even Dangote, Alhaji Aliko Dangote mentioned it recently that this mafia in the oil sector are stronger than the mafia in the are stronger than the drug cartels. Because again, if you're looking at some of the most dangerous people, who operate these states, black market.
Hello? Fuad, we might need to reconnect with you. There's a little bit of an interruption with the conversation we're having with you, but not to worry. Whilst we're connecting with Fuad, please be aware once again that we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. You can join the live stream and start to drop your submissions using the live chat option. We've seen a couple messages already. We're looking through the front page of the Guardian newspaper, having conversations about the stories that have been deemed worthy to be on the front page. I think we have Fuad back. Hello, Fuad. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Please continue.
All right. So what I was saying is that if Alhaji Aliko Dangote, man that has been able to put about $20 billion to build the largest refinery in Africa, together is telling you something, I think you need to pay attention to it. And it's unfortunate, really. It's a very terrible, ironical situation for Nigeria. See, there was a time that everything we talked about was for us to have functional refineries. Remember, say, can we get our refineries working again? Can we just have our own local refineries? We're now going to have functional refineries. Sage, now we have functional refinery, at least a functional refinery. While we are hoping that the refineries of the government would also come upstream. I think the Port Harcourt refinery will come upstream this August, as promised by the NNPCL and the government. I think it's August now, Sage.
Yeah, he says
we'll
August.
Continue to talk about it. August, yes. We're waiting. And hoping that also we are going to have enough reforms in the oil sector to allow for more players, licensed owners who want to build their own refinery, modular refinery, of course, refineries of different sizes and capacity. We now have a situation where there are people deliberately stifling the system. These are people, again, who have benefited, eating deep into the system for over 3 decades. So they are used to it. They like it. They want the status quo to remain. The unfortunate part of the situation we have found ourselves is that we are not even hiding it again. There's a way you do something and you hide. You are very careful about it. You are very strategic about it. These guys don't even hide the fact that they are the ones stifling the system. They are even very reckless about it. and they don't give a damn about what we think of them. So they come to the public space, make endless promises that they will never fulfill because they know there are no consequences for failed promises and actions in Nigeria. And so we continue to live, in penury amidst plenty as an oil producing nation. If you look at that report, Dangote refinery now is all over the world looking for supply of crude oil to its refinery. The time he got crude supply locally, he got it at premium, about $4 more than international price.
6 times actually, in tranches.
In tranches, and he had to pay more. If you remember at that time, I kept questioning why we are supplying Dangote refinery crude oil in tranches. I think it took us about 7 or 8 months to supply him with 6 million barrels of crude oil. He kept coming in 1 million, as if they were playing with it. These cabals we are talking about know what they are doing. And they know that, look, in this country, nobody asks questions. And even when you try to ask questions, people think you are just being political. Oh, you are just being unnecessarily critical. And I will keep saying that, look, a lot of the things we do here, is to open our minds to some of these issues and get us thinking about some of these things. Remember, I kept asking, why are we dropping this crude to Dangote? Just as if we are playing with it. So the man was actually paying premium price, even paying more than the financial market price, just to rub the ego of these guys to be able to get crude supply locally. Now look at where we are now. The president has issued a directive.
Yes.
It's almost like 2 weeks, about 2 weeks now, that the president has given that directive. You can see that the experts in the industry are even saying that, look, they are waiting for the implementation of the president's directive. Because in Nigeria, it is one thing to get a directive. It's another thing to get it implemented. We've gotten all manner of directives in the past that have amounted to nothing. Because we are a people of what? Form rather than substance. We are a people of what? Form. And we are not very procedural. And we are not a people that also follow things through to continue to ask questions about directives and promises when it comes to our government. So, and I've also heard, in some quarters, that this directive is audio directive. I'm sorry, it's not me. That's what I'm hearing from some experts. And what they are saying is that, look, where would the crude come from? Let's even start to ask this question. Where will the crude come from? We are not even producing enough crude. We have all manner of forward sale agreements that we have to fulfill. The IOCs, 𝐴 just said in that story that, look, when he was in power, there was a time he reached out to Shell, right?
Yes.
And he told them, please, come and help us manage our refineries. I'm ready to hand over the refineries to you. You just, you become like a shareholder. We also take our own share, but please, it locally become a problem. And what did they tell him? You read the story. The Shell told him that, look, the corruption in your oil sector is the reason why we are not going to go near those refineries. They told him, that's what you want to go back to say, that, look, the corruption in the oil sector has gotten to the point where we don't even want to get near it. And he is even telling us that these refineries, they say they are turning around. Nothing is going to turn around. I've told you before, that one of our, energy experts, Adiola Yusuf, hopefully he will be listening to us this morning, had said that, look, there was a time he went to the OTC conference in Texas. And luckily for him, he had the opportunity to meet with the original asset manufacturers of the Port Harcourt refinery. And we say asset, the people that built the refinery originally. That it was the OTC conference in Texas, and he sat down with them to say, look, Oga, this is our refinery. Can it really work? Because we've been on this trajectory of turnaround maintenance. It will work. It will work. And you know what he said? He said, they told him, he said, look, that refinery has passed its maintenance schedule. You buy a product and they give you a schedule of maintenance, and you leave that thing unmaintained for too long a period, to the point where they will tell you that, look, Oga, go and sell this thing scrap. You cannot revive it again. That our refineries have gotten to the point where they doubt if we can ever revive that refinery unless we want to start from the scratch and build a brand new refinery. So we ask ourselves, is that the reason why we keep having these failed promises? In December, we're told that it's mechanical work. They said mechanical completion. And after December, they told us that maybe in January, later I think it was moved to April. Now we are in what?
August.
We have been told that to work in August. We are in the same August now. Even though the last time military was talking to us, he said we should not quote him. That he doesn't really have all the information, but he's not lying to us. But please don't quote it. Somebody that says he's not lying to you, say don't quote me. The man at the end of affair, the man that should know, is telling you he doesn't have the complete information thing. These guys are joking with us. You know what you guys say? They know what they are doing. So the ball is left. It is left in our courts to decide how we want to go forward as a nation. So because a lot of the things we say, people have different perceptions, different understanding about these things. They think you just wake up wanting to just be critical of government, whereas I've said that nobody here wants to impose opinion on anybody. What we are doing is to open up this conversation, get ourselves thinking about some of these things, and continue to ask critical questions when it comes to nation building. Say it's unfortunate where we found ourselves.
Unfortunately,
only God will help us.
Now, aside from the fact that the implementation of this Naira sale of crude to Dangote has been stalled, there's also conversations about the supply to depot owners and of course by extension to retailers. So NNPC is selling to the private depot owners at about 556, and then the tank farmers are now selling to retailers at about 700 to 760 naira. So
look at the margin, look at the brisk business, the profit sharing going on.
So how much are retailers now supposed to sell to we the consumers if they are supposed to buy from the tank farmers at 700 when NNPC is selling to the depot owners at 556? So the marketers are asking the federal government to intervene, have a conversation with the NNPCL and of course their other arm, the NMDPRA, to do something about that. Probably fix a price or give like a margin that should not be extended when they're selling, so that the end users are not the ones who bear the brunt of this. It has to be legal. I don't think it's appropriate for anyone to profit like that.
Pay attention to what Olusegun Obasanjo is saying. Even though he was also there for 8 years and couldn't fix the problem. But pay attention, let's leave the message and take the message now. He was also there for 8 years. He saw all of these things.
Regardless, he's drawing our attention to the problem now.
But at least I'm just saying that it's also important that we balance it out like that. Right. Because he was also there for 8 years.
Okay.
So, but what I'm saying, I think the best they did was try to sell the refiners at that time, which also became the problem. The corruption in the whole system. Again, 𝐶𝑇 was going to come into that conversation. Yeah, I do eventually revoke the sale. So, a lot of issues really about some of these things we are talking about. But if you pay attention to what he's telling us, see, in the entire value chain of importation of petroleum products, you know, there are people making brisk business, profiteering. I also let me put it that way. In the entire value chain. So those are the people who are like, I mean, one of them came out and told you that they want monopoly. We'll continue to import now. I say it's one of them because he's decided to show his own face. Maybe he's now speaking for a larger group of people. Time will tell. If God will eventually show them to us one by one. Because if you look at the entire value chain, say in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been buying petrol at about 850 naira per liter. You will only be able to buy fuel now at maybe 650 at the filling stations of the major marketers. So, but if you're going to be buying from the independent marketers, a lot of them own most of the filling stations we have in the country. I think about 60% of the petrol stations we have in the country are from the independent marketers. They are the ones now who have to buy from all of these big depot owners. You know, so it's almost like you have 3 levels of sale of petroleum products. And in between, you have a margin that allows for all manner of profit sharing. So that's why there are people who are hell-bent, who are desperate to ensure the status quo of importation of refined products continue to exist in the country. They know what they are doing. And that's why, you see, Dangote is saying, I'm tired.
Come on, carry. Give me my money and
carry. The man even said that, look, if this is what you want to do, if this is what you do to me, just give me my $20 billion. And I said it at that time, that the fact that the NNPCL and the Nigerian government failed to get 20% stake in the Dangote refinery should have triggered something in our mind. If you don't understand what I'm saying. Because remember that when we were questioning the idea of Emefiele and the CBN, the shenanigans of that period, to continue to give all of the support to Dangote refinery at the detriment of our own local refineries. What a lot of these so-called megalomaniacs of government told us was to keep quiet. And don't you know that we have a 20% stake already in that thing we are supporting? Oh, again, it's not our local industry, whether it's privately owned or not. So far that it is owned by Nigeria, it's also good. None of them at that time told us that they were going to start the conversation of monopoly. None of them at that time told us that, look, the 20% stake we are supposed to get was audio stake. We were not going to eventually get it. Look at where we are now. The only thing we have been able to get from that refinery is 7.2%. Our 4 refineries are still there. And then as we speak, we also have a situation where there are deliberate efforts to run down the Dangote refinery. Now, as against what existed in the past, we now have at least one functional refinery, no crude oil to supply to that refinery as an oil producing nation. There's a presidential directive. We'll continue to track when that directive will be implemented, and not just implemented, how they will sustain the continuous implementation of that directive.
Well, our total oil production is still 1.3 million barrels per day. We have oil back loan commitment of about 280,000 barrels per day. We have commitment to local refineries, 450,000 barrels per day. Direct sale, direct purchase.
Is that commitment we are waiting for? Is that what we are waiting for?
140,000 barrels per day, and our JV partners 364,000 barrels per day. So our commitment is way more than our production. We're still doing 1.3 million, way below our OPEC expectation. So we have a long way to go. Anyways, that particular story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland FM. I'm Sage Babalola, here having conversations with Fᴜʟʟ, and we're currently looking at the Guardian newspaper. Now let's have a conversation about the state of the nation. The Guardian is reporting that military vows crackdown over treasonous use of Russian flags at protest. The riders include Russia distanced self from protesters, display of its national symbol. Obi, Tinubu's speech failed to address realities, triggers of protest. Now, the Nigerian military yesterday warned against the display of the Russian flag under the guise of the ongoing End Bad Governance protest, saying the action is treasonous and would be met with consequences. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, said foreign flag had been flown within Nigeria's sovereignty, but the latest development of Russian flag display is unacceptable. He says, and I quote, "We are warning in clear terms, and the president has also said we should convey this. We will not accept anybody, any individual flying any foreign flag in Nigeria. That is a treasonable offense, and it will be viewed and treated as such. So nobody should allow himself to be used by any individual." End of quote, according to Christopher Musa. Fuad, before the protest started, we had a lot of warnings, right, from security heads in the country who said, first things first, they're individuals who are just sore losers and have not gotten over the fact that they lost the election and are instigating people. And then we also got comments like their intelligence that foreign individuals might be involved in this particular protest. And then in the protest, especially in the north, we see northerners who are flying the Russian flag. And now it has become something of a confirmation of what was told to us before the protest started. How exactly do we expect the government to deal with this and still try to manage the escalating violence in the north since the start of these protests?
Well, Sage, a lot to unpack in this particular story.
Yeah.
And when I say a lot to unpack, there are about 3 angles to this particular story. I think the first one is to talk about the violence, ongoing violence in the north. And I think for that, the security operatives have a lot of work to do. I think I like the proactiveness of some of the governors who have declared curfew and, of course, working with the security agencies to take care of these troublemakers. We have said it severally. You have a right to protest, but you can't be a rioter. You can't descend on other people or begin to steal people's property. Then you become a looter, not a protester. And it's just very necessary that at that point, the security operatives are expected to do their job in the most civilized manner. You understand? Take care of the criminals, really. But like I've always said, some of these problems we have here and there in different parts of the country is still not enough to demonize the idea of a peaceful protest in a democracy, if you understand what I'm saying. And so that's one part of the conversation. The security operatives basically should do their job and take care of the troublemakers. Take care of those that are looting people's properties and prosecute them and punish them adequately, because those are criminals. I've said it. Anybody during a protest that is expected to be peaceful decides to start to loot other people's property should be treated as a common criminal, as a thief. And that's just what it is. Now, the other issue that has suddenly come up, say, is the sudden appearance of Russian flags in different parts of the country. Some states in the north, particularly. I don't think we have that problem here in the south.
It's mostly the northwest.
It's just in the north. And there are two issues to look at here. Yes, the government has talked about foreign mercenaries, blah, 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 their intentions for people to hijack, the protests and all of that. Number one, I see the possibility of ignorance here. When I say ignorance, if you look at those people carrying those flags, you will know that half of those people don't even know what they are doing. I'm saying the possibility of ignorance, complete ignorance, and again, you can't have that level of illiteracy, poverty, and expect people to think properly. It's just garbage in, garbage out. You fed people so much for years with illiteracy, with poverty, and you expect them to think properly. See, of course, you are going to have some level of misbehavior, which for me is what I'm seeing with people raising. I know they said they've arrested one man throwing the Russian flag.
Yes, Ahmed, or what's his name now?
They said Ahmed Taylor or something.
Yeah.
I don't know whether his own name is Taylor. Maybe it's the popular name. It's the man. He's the man throwing the flag.
Yeah.
He's the mass producer
of the flag. Yeah.
So so I think it's ignorance, because what you can see from that is that, maybe this guy, a lot of these states, they have relationships, they have relations, they have people that are connected one way or the other to some of these other African countries who have suddenly gone into some form of romance with Russia, Niger, Burkina Faso, and what have you.
Mali as well.
And Mali.
Yeah.
So especially Niger, because of course about 7 states in the north borders Niger, so you may understand why, maybe in their very myopic mind, they think that they also should begin to look at the options of Niger, as suddenly who have become a friend to Russia. And I think it's just lack of education, lack of thinking, lack of capacity, complete illiteracy is what we're seeing there.
What?
And yes, I'm with you.
Yes, please forgive me. Since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war, there have been conversations that Russia is desperate for allies in Africa. And this is just something of a conspiracy theory that has been sold to us since the start of the war with Ukraine. They're looking for allies in Africa. And then, like you said, there's the romance with Mali, Burkina Faso, and all these other African countries. So now the new conversation is they're probably spreading their tentacles to Nigeria. If you remember, they had offered one time to supply grains to Nigeria since Ukraine would not be able to do that anymore.
But the Russian embassy has denied any involvement.
Yeah, of course, that's why I said these are conspiracy theories. But then should we just completely ignore these conversations that it's a possibility that Russia might be, emphasis on might be spreading its tentacles to this part of Africa?
Now, let me tell you one thing. Number one, the security operatives should do their job. DSS, Nigerian Army, the sovereignty of the nation is very paramount and important at this stage. So we expect that, the army, the police, the army, all the security operatives should do their job and take care of these people. If in any form they begin to question the sovereignty of the nation with their actions, very, very important. It's not just about the flag now. It's about the intention behind the flag. So if at any point there's a conversation that questions the sovereignty of the Nigerian state by some of these people, then it should be dealt with. Looking at what the law says about treason, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. It's not just to carry the flag. I'm saying, because I'm not seeing people who have put the Israeli flag in their cars and buses. Some of them even put it on top of their cars.
They don't even know what flag it is. They just like the color and put it there.
Maybe these ones don't even know what the fuck ground was. Maybe they think it's one movement somewhere. That's why I talk about illiteracy and ignorance. So it's important for us to check. It's not just about, we've seen a Russian flag and say, because Russia. Because again, let me tell you, Nigeria is a country that is complex, too sophisticated for that conspiracy theory about Russia trying to cause any form of insurrection or a regime changeover in Nigeria. I'm sorry. Nigeria is not Niger Republic. We are not even Mali. We are not Burkina Faso. This is Nigeria. And I know what I mean when I say this is Nigeria. So, but again, that's one conversation I think is the authority we have to deal with extensively. The other part of the conversation, say, as a communicator, is the problem of propaganda and disinformation as well as misinformation. There are people, please, mark my words, there are people who are also saying that, look, there was an extreme attempt to discredit the idea of this protest. And that we should also be careful if it is not an attempt in some quarters to further discredit the protest. And say, oh, Shemi, we told you that some 괜ᴜᴜ will hijack the protest. I don't know whether you understand what
I'm with you, definitely.
You see that it has multiple angles now. But whatever angle you are picking this conversation from, say, the most important thing is that, look, Nigeria is an independent nation under God. We have our sovereignty to protect. We have the country to protect. Nobody can impose any foreign idea or ideology. We are even not aligned. Say, that's our foreign policy. So, again, some of the things we continue to talk about when it comes to nation building and what have you are very complex. Too complex. And there are some of the things we can't even bring on radio. But I think that, look, on this issue of the Russian flag, I think our security operatives should do their job. But again, as a communicator, we have to be careful with all manner of propaganda, misinformation and disinformation that could also come from the idea of an attempt to further discredit the idea of the protest. Look at what is happening in the UK now. See.
Even in Bangladesh.
Look at what is happening in the UK.
In Kenya.
Even in Bangladesh.
Even
in Kenya. In India.
Yeah.
You know, as to how there seems to be widespread protest. But again, say, in all of these countries we are mentioning, different issues. In the UK, I just corrected a friend yesterday who came and told me, oh, look at it. You can see the way UK is dealing with the protesters. These are not protesters. In the UK, it's a form of riot. It's not even protest. Yeah. Because what they are doing is Islamophobia, a form of racism that has come as a result of misinformation on social media on the identity of somebody who went about stabbing children and killing 3 children.
Yeah.
It's not about hunger. It's not about even their attempt to say this is a protest against illegal immigrants or immigrants has shown that, look, they don't even know what they are doing. And these are far-right extremists hiding under the idea of calling for reform in immigration, putting all of the blame of crime on immigrants and Muslims. And that's why the 17-year-old that perpetrated the crime, a judge had to lift the restriction on identity issues to say the man is even a British born, he's not even a Muslim.
Exactly.
It's even Christian. So you can't, after people who are now trying to put the Nigerian situation side by side with the UK, I say, no, they are not comparable. It's not even the same thing. Say, we have a country to protect. Yeah. And we'll continue to talk about nation building. Nigeria must work.
Nigeria must indeed work. That particular story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. The other stories here are somewhat related. Reps dissolve panel probing allegations of dirty fuel, blame negative media coverage. It's good that we help us media people. Anyways, it's good that everything is our fault. Anyways,
that dirty fuel, I will still proving it. I thought we have moved on with that.
So the panel that was probing it, they dissolved it because apparently media involvement has sabotaged the credibility of the probe.
How did the media sabotage the probe? How can the media even sabotage the probe?
Apparently there were reports that were planted in the papers and just sabotaged it. So they have constituted a new panel actually, and they're going to do so. They say they're going to put industry experts. Basically, they're changing the members of the panel. That's what they're doing. So they're forming a new one, but it would be industry experts, those who operate within the oil sector and what have you. So they're not completely forgetting about probing it, but it's just different people that would do it now. And it's surprising that after months, it's been almost a year, right? This whole dirty fuel conversation.
Wait. What are we probing exactly? On that?
Maybe who brought it in, the distribution.
Wait now. What are we told about importation of fuel? Who is the sole importer of petroleum?
NNPC.
So what are we probing?
I don't know. Is Mele carried out there?
No, now, Sid. Every day we are told that the NNPCL, they may have contractors who help them to bring it in.
Right.
But they are in charge, are they? as a sole importer of PMS.
Yes.
Apart from the NNPC, they have all manner of regulatory agencies. Abi?
Yeah.
One of them is the man, Ahmad Farouk, NMDPRA, another regulatory agency. So, how is it so? When did that dirty fuel happen? Was it not last year?
Yeah, last year. It's been almost a year, right?
So, what exactly are we probing? What are we What are we saying? What was the difficulty in identifying the people? The probe should end in 1 week. Who brought it in? How did you bring it in? Why did you bring it in? And then all of the regulatory, you tested the regulatory agencies. So when you were bringing it, when they were even discharging, loading and offloading, you didn't smell it. This was something that was smelly. To start, even you don't need any expert to know that this is a problem with that fuel. So what are we probing? I've told you about the doctrine of motion without movement. We pretend to be doing something whereas we are not even doing anything. And like Barrister Curtis has told me several, in Nigeria, when we really don't want to solve a problem, we form a committee. Then the committee will also form another committee. And then another committee will form a committee. And then they will issue a white paper that they will now form another committee to review. Say, what are we probing?
Don't be angry for it. Don't be angry, sorry. That particular story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. The other ones here: protesters defy the president's plea, continue demonstration in Rivers. Apparently, there's a lot of people that are dissatisfied with the president's address. They believe he did not address key issues, and so the protesters are still on the streets protesting and asking that something be done regarding their demands. If you like more details, is on page 28 of the Guardian newspaper. Also here we have EFCC warns council chairman against mismanagement. So basically, we have the EFCC talking to the local government council chairman to not mismanage the resources that are now being allocated directly to them. Even though we have, some local government heads that are saying, give it to the governors. We trust him. We were comfortable with the government system. Yeah, they pulled out of Algon, formed their own committee, and said they prefer, to have the governor in charge of their resources. It was that Yoruba proverb that we are anytime to readjust. What was that proverb? That's the proverb. So that's what it says. But the EFCC is warning them that they will be punished if they are also caught with their hands in the cookie jar.
I don't think the EFCC needs to warn anybody.
They should now.
Because warning them, they don't know what.
They might not know that is bad.
Look at the 33 local government chairmen in Oyo State. We talked about how a lot of them are elected in the first place. All of this kangaroo election we have been doing at the local government level has basically produced this set of people. Now, 33 local government chairmen in Oyo State now have said that, look, we are first pulling out of Algon, we form our own thing, and that, look, their support and allegiance is to the governor. That they don't have any problem in the federal government paying their money to the joint account. What are you even saying? They've told the federal government, please don't give us our money directly. First say it to the state. I will be happy, more than happy to receive from the state. What does that tell you? And I said it to one of our friends that what would eventually happen is that, look, if the money is even paid directly to this local government chairman, what would they do?
They'll give it back to the governors.
And the question the EFCC would have to answer is that, how do you even begin to prosecute these kinds of things?
Exactly.
Remember that whether you like it or not, there are still questions about the Supreme Court judgment running against some aspect of the Constitution. Because what is going to happen eventually, say, is that, look, if this thing happens at the state level and the EFCC picks them up, there's going to be a lot of legal battle as to whether that Supreme Court judgment can nullify the dictates of the Constitution. So there's still a lot of problem on that Supreme Court judgment. And that's why you can see that all of the governors are now in a hurry to conduct local government elections. Basically, to put their stooges at the local government level. So it is still the same cycle. It's either you pay directly or you pay by proxy. One way or the other. Like we always say in the street, Obi Obi Atobe, Obe Noni. You know that one?
I don't know it.
You are still
I don't know it.
No worry, how you need to go out. You need to go out more. You understand?
I don't know it.
You don't go out.
Anyways, that particular story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper, and that's about everything that we have for the Guardian newspaper. Actually, we spent time on the Guardian because the stories are replicated across all the other papers. The stories are quite similar, so we decided to just take the stories from here. But for sake of conversation, let's just read the rest of the headlines that we have. We're about to segue now to the Punch newspaper. The top story, as expected, hunger protests. Military talks tough as pro-Russia rallies spread. The riders, DHQ hunts protest sponsors. Governor summon emergency security meeting. Russia disowns protesters. Police arrest over 30. More northern states declare curfew. That's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. We addressed this earlier as well on page 19 of the Punch. Why fuel importers will frustrate Dangote, according to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. We have on page 20 of the Punch that fuel queues will clear as loading has resumed, I beg your pardon, at the depots. So loading has resumed at
they should tell us when the next scarcity will happen. They should always notify us. They should respect us a little. Tell us, another one will happen. Okay, you think it's not happening?
No, they might. I don't know.
They don't know again.
They might.
So what do they? Okay. So what exactly do they know? When will our refineries work? They don't know.
August.
How do we get enough crude oil to supply August? Which August? This August.
Don't quote him.
Okay. So when would you get enough crude oil to produce? They don't know. Okay. Import. The simple one of going to now bring petroleum products in. They don't even know. And they don't even know how to do it. So what exactly do they know?
They don't know it's bringing in dirty fuel as well. They don't know.
And the dirty fuel they don't even know too.
Yeah.
You say you see the problem. So what exactly do they know?
They will tell us.
What they know is corruption. At least that one they know.
Fuad, let's take these stories. It's on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. So there'll be respite for us in the coming weeks because loading has resumed according to Punch newspaper. Well, page 20 also. Fuad, you know our faith.
So no, now I've been buying at 850 naira per liter, and these guys are here just giving us some manner of reckless, useless excuses.
Fuad, wait first.
It's painful. I've been buying at 850 naira per liter, and then the loading has started, so we should start to dance 𝐴̀gbàpàṣọ. Because people don't even know what they are doing.
Fuad, we're still on page 20.
No, that's why I'm saying that they should always alert us. I think like a mother. Another problem will happen. People should be prepared. At least they should know that one. Are they not the ones in charge?
Fuad, please. I'm trying to.
If you have tolerated this level of inefficiency.
Fuad, please. I'm trying to maintain my composure, and you're making me lose.
All right.
So please, let's do page 20. Blackout as national grid collapses again.
The fifth collapse.
Seventh. Fifth. Wow.
Seventh collapse in 2024. I thought it collapsed again. Remember when people were thumping, breaking their heads on the wall when NLC shut down the grid? Why did you not agree? It should be sent to jail. Okay, we should go to jail now. 7 collapse. Hey, in 2024. Here you see the problem.
What? But it has started, all right. Restoration has
they revived it.
1,255 megawatts.
When are we going to do away with this Abiku national grid? You know, in poetry, we have 2 Abiku written by 2 brilliant poets. There's one by J.P. Clark and there's one by Professor Ole Soyinka. And there are solutions to the problem of Abiku in Africa. If you go and check, locally, there's a local solution that our people use. When they keep giving back to a child and the child keeps dying, and they do something, eventually they will give back to the child and he will not die again. When are we going to find? Maybe we should look at local solutions to this Abiku national grid that keeps collapsing.
What? We're out of time. All right, it's on page 20. Well, for page 27, regarding
so they revived the power is back.
Yeah, it's back. It's coming up slowly. All right, 1,255 megawatt. I think that's what.
On GD idea. On GD ideas. You know you can't break somebody or just like that.
Please help me. Help me be professional this morning, please. Please. So we have page 27. Federal government asks workers to register for 40,000 rice, 40,000 naira rice. So apparently to ease distribution for it. So you're supposed to buy rice. Register just so that distribution will be accounted. So it's accounted for.
Workers. What are people that are not working for government?
They'll find a way around. There's a social register that they say.
No, if they can fill form, where do we fill our own form? Now, don't you want rice at 40,000 per bag?
No, I'm a big girl. Why?
Buy one if you don't want.
I know.
So where would I?
Well, please, let's go. We're out of time, all right.
Hey!
And finally, riots, Nigeria, Indonesia, Australia want citizens about travel to the UK.
Nigeria is even warning Nigerians in the UK.
Yes,
Travel
actually, because of the immigration conversation that's going on there, and they're attacking immigrants. They're actually physically assaulting immigrants and attacking them, and burning buildings.
Even after they've been told that the person that committed the crime is a British
the
born.
idea has been sold already.
Misinformation. That's why I talk about misinformation and all manner of things that you have, especially social media. And that's why I think the government also in Nigeria should support mainstream media. Because if you continue to, if the mainstream media runs into trouble and you leave information just in the hands of the social media people,
Fuad, we actually have to go.
It's anarchy ahead, really. Yeah.
That's everything we have for trends in the papers. We would be gone for about 10 minutes, take a few commercials, be back at 8:40 for Mainland Focus. This is where we take your own opinion regarding all the stories that we have reviewed. So stay with us after the commercials. We'll be back to take your opinion. We're still live on Facebook and on YouTube, and we see your messages. We'll take these messages before we start to take phone calls at 8:40. My name is Sage Babalola. Fuad will be joining us for Mainland Focus. Don't go anywhere.